Denzel Washington has an altercation with a photographer at the Cannes Film Festival, as well as Conan O'Brien, part of the Toy Story 5 cast. You're live with the guy every day at 12 Central, and my producer, Nat. Why don't you say hi?
Hello.
Okay, let's get right into it, I guess. Sorry for anybody that watched our show last night. I was a little bit exhausted, I think. We cut it a little bit early. I wasn't in the best mood. My dog woke me up this morning, and I'm still a little tired, I think. Okay, let's get into Denzel Washington appears to have an altercation with a photographer at Cannes Film Festival. I actually didn't read the article. I just picked it up this morning. I'm a big Denzel Washington fan, so I figured we'd read it together on the show.
And also, good morning, Rafa.
Oh, he's here. Wow.
Or good evening. Good afternoon, I guess. So Denzel Washington was the willing recipient of a surprise Palme d'Or, so he got an honor on Monday night. But he was less enamored with the attention he received from a photographer. Walking at Le Palais red carpet at the Cannes Film Festival on Monday, Washington appeared to remonstrate with a snapper after he was touched on the arm while conversing with his highest to lowest director Spike Lee and co-star A$AP Rocky. And there we see him there. He was in France for the world premiere of Lee's new film, pointed his finger, spoke animatedly, and clasped the arm of the photographer, who smiled his way through the exchange. As he motioned to walk away, the actor seemed to be repeatedly saying, "Stop it." Per a video of the incident, this was reported by an analysis by a lip expert reader, according to the Mail Online.
Okay, I don't know about all the expert lip readers, but photographers and paparazzi can get a little touchy-feely, so for him to kind of put him in his place and talk sternly to him, saying he needs some personal space, I think is acceptable. I think it's something a lot of stars just don't do, and that's why the boundaries are constantly pushed. Denzel Washington is also very private. He speaks very frankly, so it's somebody overall I like. Once in a while he gives a comment that is a little bit too political for me, but overall he stays non-political, and I do like him for that.
Do you want to see the exchange?
Oh, I didn't realize it was on camera here. Oh, hold on. I need my headphone. Oh. Play that again? I kind of want to see the end after he walked away. Did he grab him or did...
Seems like the photographer said something. He got mad about it. Then the guy was like, "Oh, sorry." And then
he's got his hand right there. He's holding the photographer's hand. I just want to see what happens.
Then the photographer tries to say
grab
something.
him back.
Yeah.
That could have escalated.
Yeah.
Oh, that was an interesting exchange. It was just on the verge before it could have become something more. So I guess this is why more famous people have handlers and things like this, so they can avoid lawsuits. This could have turned into a nice little lawsuit for the photographer, I think. Okay, let's get into Conan.
But I mean, Denzel does look a bit older and a bit skinnier, doesn't he?
Well, he's just getting older. He's pretty old now. Why don't you type up how old he is? What are you going to guess? I'm going to guess he's got to be at least 60 or 65.
70-something?
70? There's no way he's 70. I'm going to say he's 60.
70.
Oh, my gosh.
I was right. He's 70.
Okay, it's more than reasonable for him to be a little bit more skinny now.
Yeah.
And his son was picking his roles for him for a little while there. And he was picking a lot of action roles. That's where he played he played a kind of blind action hero at one point, and then he went into a couple of action movies after that, and I think he kind of beefed up for those, so people maybe are a little bit surprised to see him more skinny, but he's a 70-year-old man. He's still in pretty good shape for 70 years old, I'd say.
Sure.
I mean, Donald Trump's 79? He looks a lot better than Trump.
Well, Trump is big.
Trump is big. Trump looks like Grimace.
A little bit. Orange Grimace. And Rafa says, last chance to watch Thunderbolts. The memes are getting funnier.
Well, I think you did or you're going to do your review of Mission Impossible tonight. I said yesterday I didn't really like it. Thunderbolts probably couldn't have been much worse than Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible was good.
You liked it. I didn't.
Well, it wasn't bad. It was just too drawn out for you, I think.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good. I'm figuring Thunderbolts is probably average, just like that movie.
No.
Yeah. We'll watch it when it comes on streaming, and then I'll give my opinion because Rafa keeps asking.
And Rafa also says Denzel is having too much Adreno. Maybe.
Yeah, Denzel used to be one of my more favorite actors. I used to really like him. But okay, let's go into Toy Story 5. And Conan O'Brien is the new voice of a character. Which character?
Apparently a new one. So yes, Toy Story 5 lands Conan O'Brien as voice of new character.
I wonder if it's that bunny in the background.
Which one? No, that one. I think that one already has a voice actor because that one's from a different movie. So it says the studio announced Monday that Conan O'Brien has been added to the film's voice cast as Smarty Pants, a character that is new to the animation franchise. And Andrew Stanton is directing alongside Who Cares, set to hit theaters June 19 of next year.
Oh, of next year, okay.
Plot details haven't been shared, but the movie will involve the toys dealing with modern-day kids' fascination with electronics.
Oh, so yeah, that could be good. I mean, the last one I didn't like. It was too political again for me.
Yeah.
I like when they leave politics out of the movie. Was it a lesbian kiss that was in there? Was it a lesbian kiss that happened? I can't remember.
There was one, but that was during Buzz Lightyear, which connected, but it's not the same thing.
Overall, I do like Conan O'Brien. I think this was a good ad, especially for somebody named Smarty Pants, because on his late night show, he was kind of a little smart aleck Smarty Pants. So this may be a really good fit. Do you have anything about this? I kind of just added it in there. I needed a couple pop culture stories for the YouTube censors. Okay, let's get into the Diddy trial here. And there's a couple new updates. A lot of the new people that are testifying are coming in and backing up kind of what Cassie said about the abuse and things like that. But also people are realizing now this is a RICO trial. For him to be convicted of a RICO act, 2 of the 9 charges have to stick. If that's the case, they can then seize his assets as it was organized crime.
So Diddy hires former DOJ expert to save assets from government seizure, insight, and pirate stake. Music mogul's $40 million LA mansion, Miami properties, and Bad Boy Records could be forfeited.
It's going to be interesting if this does happen. That's going to be a lot of assets. What are the government going to do with those assets? Probably like some kind of fire sale, pennies on the dollar for that stuff.
Because he has private jets, he has art collections, he has a lot of stuff he's accumulated over the years.
Oh, yeah.
But again, like there's that small doubt in my mind if he is maybe a burnt...
He's a burned asset, for sure.
For the government.
Yeah, for the government. I mean, that's what I think.
Because you used to say he wasn't.
Of course. They're all... What he's going to say? He was?
I don't know. You kept telling me that was the wrong theory.
No. I've never said that.
You did.
Yeah, he's obviously an Epstein-like figure within the music industry, a front-facing figure. Epstein was kind of a behind-the-scenes figure. Okay, let's go into the next story.
And I was right.
Wait, what do you mean you were right?
So SAG-AFTRA responds to Fortnite's AI-generated Darth Vader feature with unfair labor complaint.
Okay, why don't we read a little bit about this? I know a little bit about this right now. I don't know if you were right, but...
So SAG-AFTRA is essentially the actors and voice actors union for film in the US and Canada. So Fortnite underestimates SAG-AFTRA's power. It would appear after the online gaming platform used conversational AI to replicate James Earl Jones' voice as Star Wars Darth Vader. On Monday, the Guild announced an unfair labor practice filing with the National Labor Relations Board against Llama Productions over Fortnite's agreement with Jones' estate to use his voice for a feature that allows players to have conversations with the Sith Lord, arguing that the agreement does not extend to others who have also voiced the character. We celebrate the right of our members and their estates to control their use of their digital replicas and welcome the use of new technologies to allow new generations to share in the enjoyment of these legacies and renowned roles, they said. However, we must protect our right to bargain terms and conditions around uses of voice that replace the work of our members, including those who previously did work of matching Darth Vader's iconic rhythm and tone in video games.
Okay, this is the thing. They just negotiated their film deal, and this was kind of left out of it. Therefore, whoever negotiated the deal on behalf of the actors is now upset that they didn't add this in, and they're not really highlighting this in the article. They're still in negotiations with the actual video game industry, so they don't have a complete deal worked out. But Disney does own the rights through the family of James Earl Jones' voice. What the complaint here kind of is about is they're saying it has to be a real voice actor and you can't use AI at all.
Well, and that all the other actors that have interpreted Darth Vader's voice for other video games and other properties or ventures should also get basically a say because it's the character itself.
That's ridiculous. They're really reaching here, and they are really reaching in a lot of these contracts with their AI asks and other asks of this. I knew some of the details when I was part of the Teamsters up in Vancouver, and the negotiations were really at a sticking point on digital rights, digital AI assets, things like this, how you could replicate actors' voices and images and buy the rights to their voice and image outright. It seems to me that Disney's in the right here, not the guild. They're just trying to expand their contract and probably trying to leverage negotiations with the video game industry at this point. Do you have anything else?
I still think AI does pose a threat on actual actors and stunt doubles and etc's crafts in general.
Yeah, it does. But I mean, if there's no protections within, if there is no protections, then they're just going to go overseas and use those rights and things like that. And the industry's going to kind of get hollowed out.
And Rafa says, there was already a toy helmet that allowed you to speak like Darth Vader. So maybe they could have used that instead.
Oh, yeah, that would have been nice. Okay, let's go into streaming hits another all-time high in April.
Yes, so streaming hits another high in April. Cable and broadcast rise too. Nielsen's monthly gauge report has bits of good news for all three platforms. And apparently Grey's Anatomy gets all streaming titles for the month.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting that broadcast and cable actually went up. Can you go down? Because the article I got this from, keep going down. I want to see if they have the statistical analysis. There it is. Keep going down. Oh, yeah, right there. The next graph. YouTube. Okay, right here. So we can see which companies kind of grew here. The biggest growth was YouTube. And YouTube is not only the biggest video search engine, but it's the biggest search engine in general. So YouTube has a huge portion of the market, and it's not always added into statistics. In this particular case, it was. So you can really see what a dominant player it is in the space. But when we're talking about cable and things like that, it's often not put into cable and things of this nature.
So with YouTube, I'm guessing they're just counting YouTube TV, correct?
Yeah, they just count the TVs. So they don't actually count YouTube on the phone. Which
No, I mean YouTube TV, the service where you can stream TV shows.
Oh, I'm not sure.
I don't think they're counting like this kind of streaming. I think they're counting TV.
No, from what
services.
I'm aware from WDW Pro, what they're counting is YouTube that's watched on the TV. So it's only they coordinate it by how they're watching it on what platform. Disney's counted all platforms, whether it's watched on a phone or a TV, but YouTube's only counted it if it's watched on a TV itself, which kind of jury rigs the numbers for Disney. It only allows them to hide it, but now YouTube's actually surpassing them. We've talked about this a couple times in the past.
Yeah, they don't specify, but
WDW Pro did.
Okay, because as YouTube remain the biggest individual streaming platform for
Okay, let's
TV
go down.
users.
Let's look at this. Up. Yep, right here. So streaming is almost getting to the point where it's half. Actually, if you look at this right now, broadcast and cable together is the same size as streaming. Surprisingly, I thought streaming would be a little bit bigger at this point.
Well, there's still a lot of people older people. And also, I'm guessing they also count like airports and other like schools, dorms.
Well, and broadcasting actually still has the majority of the rights for sports properties.
That too.
So that's the big thing. I think a lot of these broadcasting and cable companies, I think over 50% of their numbers are probably coming from sports broadcasting. That's the only thing they really have left. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's surprising Grey's Anatomy was the biggest TV show.
Yeah, they're not counting sports in that. It's a TV show. Let's go down to the next table graph. Peacock, Warner Brothers, Tubi.
So Disney's still third.
Yeah, but Disney's very small. It's a very, very distant third. And Netflix and YouTube is growing. And Disney actually has more than just one Disney platform. They're all connected into that platform. And Disney has a way of manipulating numbers, which is interesting.
And I'm also surprised Prime is fourth. And Roku goes above Paramount. I mean, I'm guessing it also depends on, well, not above, but they're the same. But I'm guessing it depends on what properties they have.
Also, Paramount Plus is attempting to sell right now. They're kind of caught in court with the entity they're trying to sell to because they're in a lawsuit with Trump right now, and they need to settle that lawsuit before they can sell Paramount. So, and Roku has broad appeal internationally as well because it's installed in most TVs that are like smart TVs and things like that. Okay, that's good. We can go on to the next story, which was the Senate.
So Senate advances first of its kind cryptocurrency legislation after Democrats initially blocked it amid Trump crypto deals.
Oh, okay, so I asked you to get the article, and you did, but what was actually going on here was the Senate advances legislation to regulate stable coins, specifically stable coins, a form of cryptocurrency. And if you know, in the past, I've talked a lot about stable coins because there was supposed to be a CBDC coming out. Since Trump took office, he wants to privatize the cryptocurrency market and nationalize it through privatization of stablecoins. This is why I'm really looking at the stable coin market very closely on any news that comes out. So the fact that the legislation is going through, Trump's kind of putting all of his buddies in charge of these stable coins and privatizing it, trying to take the power away from the Fed. Overall, I'm not against necessarily stable coins as long as they keep a national currency that's in physical form. If they collapse that in any way, shape, or form, even if it is for emergency, and then go completely into stable coins, I'd be completely against it. But if they manage to have both, I think that allows enough freedom where people can choose. And I think that's the way people want to go into digital currency. They don't want to be forced into a CBDC with a basic national dollar collapsing or ceasing to exist.
But it's still dangerous.
Yeah, it's dangerous.
For Trump to be wanting to do this.
It could be dangerous, but as long as there's some kind of choice left there, it's expected that a lot of free money and free loans are going to be given out through the stablecoin. Once stablecoin gets more legislation behind it and it's ready for mass adoption, they're going to push it out through the loan industry and things like that. So it does have mass adoption. So that's kind of the plan, what I've been looking at. Also, I've been keeping an eye on digital IDs and things like this. So stable coins and digital IDs are slowly being pushed through. And when they make headlines, they don't really talk about it in the transparent sense of how it's actually being used. So, okay, let's go into the next one.
So I'm going to have to be careful with how we word this.
Yeah, so this is medical assisted in dying. That's what MAID stands for.
Yes, so Melissa L.M. Rogers says, I'm seriously not surprised that Canada would consider state-assisted ending of life for children and teens. Not surprised, but very sad. Oh, and of course, parents may not have to be consulted. So this is a pamphlet that says MAID for children and teens. A special committee of MPs and senators studying MAID has recommended allowing MAID for mature minors. A mature minor is a child or teen who is deemed capable of making a decision for MAID. This would essentially remove the minimum age of eligibility. The committee also suggested parents may not be consulted and wouldn't need to consent to their child's ending of their own life through medical ways via MAID. Children are uniquely vulnerable. Canada's first priority must be to provide high-quality medical care for children by ending their lives.
This is absolutely insane. They want to get rid of consent laws, age of consent laws. They want to broaden it to teens first, then they'll bring it down from there. If they can set the precedent for teens, then basically the precedent has now been set for all minors, and they'll easily be able to go into lower and lower ages. I'm actually shocked that this is the realm they're trying to fight age of consent. This should have a lot of pushback against it in any other country. I guess in Canada, not so much. A lot of people can understand the MAID program when it comes to older people, but when it comes to teens and minors, this should be something that shouldn't really be implemented. And if it is, it should have to have consent between the adults, the children, doctors, and it should be extremely, extremely rare to actually do this. MAID is one of the largest causes of death within Canada. It's insane. thousands and thousands of people are dying in Canada due to the hand of the government itself, which is also insane. I was absolutely shocked when I seen this morning, bringing the MAID program for children without the parents' consent. It's a little crazy.
And I mean, we've already seen them trying to offer it to veterans. They've tried to offer it to homeless people. I mean, we can see here right next to it that it says hopelessness and can be a symptom made for mental illness. In cases of like very rare terminal disorders for young children who are just suffering and there's no cure and they're in pain 24/7. I mean, but it's still a very
well. But let's talk about
subject.
this. First of all, you were right when you said veterans. So veterans are calling a help hotline for when they have PTSD, other things like that. And the government is suggesting this as the solution directly to the veterans. It was actually a big scandal when it happened. It's happened quite a few times. I guess this is part of their regular dialogue. They're suggesting to veterans within Canada. That was number one. Number two was, what did you just say?
Homelessness.
Homelessness. Yes, homelessness, but there was something else I was going to go into here.
Mental illness.
When they first brought this MAID program up, when Trudeau did, they talked about this as a way for Canada to save money on healthcare and things like this. Now, you don't save that much money with an old person. Yes, an old person costs a lot, but they're going to die soon anyway. They're looking at teens that have a lot of illness at a young age. They don't want to have to support for the rest of their life. So the government is looking at this as a cost-effective savings plan, and that's just not how they should look at life. And yes, Canada may have a free healthcare system that's completely broken, and it's showing that it's broken, that they don't want to support and they want to cut costs for the lives of children and things like this. So,
yes. And I mean, we also know they have other policies that go concordant to that. I mean, their policies on abortion and other ways of ending life, especially of younger people. But now they're actually talking about fully letting children decide if they want to be on this earth or not.
And how are they able to do this in Canada? It's because of the transgendered laws. They were able to go through LGBT community and your right to get on puberty blockers, make medical decisions as a minor for yourself without consulting a parent. Once they set that precedent, now they're setting this precedent, and they're going to go so and so forth. Pretty soon they're going to say age of consent for sexual engagement with a minor is going to have no age of consent, which is going to be crazy.
It's more that children can consent, but they cannot because they cannot fully understand the implications of what they're consenting to, regardless of what it is.
Yeah, this is why parental rights are so important, and they should be stood up for. Now, once in a while, there may not be any parental rights because the child may be a ward of the state and things like this. And in those cases, a lot of crazy things have happened in Canada. Though, remember you were doing an article about the one guy that did over 500 sex changes on minors within the foster
system in British Columbia.
Yeah.
Yes, I forget the name of the guy that now thinks he's a girl, but yes, he was using the foster system to essentially get subjects to do his little experiments on.
Okay, let's go in the next story.
Rafa says that's hideous. What do you think is their objective behind that?
I think they want to. I think a lot of the people that are pushing this are maps. Honestly, we've been following this for about 10 years now, and it always seems they set the precedent, and they're going towards age of consent for minors because they want minors to be able to consent to sexual acts with adults, which is crazy.
We can't say that on YouTube, but it is crazy. But also, I mean, I guess I'll speak for myself. As a conservative, it's also a way for the government to overreach and actually take control from younger and younger ages. They want to be able to parent the children, and we've seen it through the public school system. We've seen it through other plans they have, the way they're trying to remove the parent. Canada has also come out saying that regarding gender affirming care, which is stupid, the parent should be a guide and a friend, but should not have the ultimate authority over their child,
Well,
which
yeah,
is insane.
they're trying to take out the family unit and replace the family unit for the government.
Through the state.
Yeah, and they also, when you lower age of consent laws, they also want to lower the age of voting. This was another story. I'm not sure if I do have it here. So good. We're going to go into it in a minute, but they just lowered the voting age to 16 in Toronto, and now they're pushing to do it on a federal level. So again, they're setting the precedent in Toronto, and then they want to expand that. That story is just like this one. It's all about age of consent laws. It's about this post-human movement and things like this. So this is why I always keep an eye on stories that have to do with age of consent, what in any realm that it's in, whether it's voting age of consent or medical age of consent or other things like that, or stripping parents of their parental rights. So, Okay, let's go into the next story.
So Wide Awake Media says self-described futurist Nita Farahani tells the WEF, the World Economic Forum, that brain sensors embedded in headphones and other devices will soon be monitoring the population's brain activity. Things like, are you tired? Are you paying attention? Is your mind wandering? Are you happy or sad?
Yeah, and I've been talking about, or at least in the one episode, I talked about the internet of the forest, the internet of the human body, and they have these dust particles that can be sprinkled over things or into the human body that can give wireless data back to its receiver to completely monitor things. But this is going into wearables. Headphones are going to be able to monitor your brain waves and basically have some predictive modeling and things like this, which is pretty scary.
And Rafa, Rafa says, thanks for answering. I'll join a meeting. Have a great day. Thank you for being here, Rafa. And we'll see you tonight, probably.
Adios. And as far as she goes, the the World Economic Forum is really trying to rebrand, and they're having a tough time after Klaus Schwab. There was some big time insider information that I was seeing the other day that ousting Klaus Schwab, he was actually ousted, and the primary reason behind the scenes that was given was that you will own nothing and you will be happy. Just had so much bad media publicity. They need to rebrand. How they're going to rebrand when it's their ideology that really carries that ethos, and you're going to hear when she speaks, it's the same basic ethos no matter what they talk about. They want authoritarian control.
And also in the deep recesses of the Maha movement, and a lot of people that speak about waves and things that are around us and the things that electronic components emit. I mean, there's a lot of people that are against Bluetooth, that don't use anything that has anything to do with Bluetooth because of how it could interfere with brainwave patterns. But this is just I don't know if it's fully proven or not, but I've also seen that conversation out there.
Well, let's watch the clip real quick.
Wearable devices. So these are brain sensors that are starting to be embedded in everyday devices, but until now have been a number of niche companies that really have focused on mindfulness and meditation. The use of, for example, brain sensors that can pick up electrical activity in the brain at a pretty low resolution, but advances in AI have both improved what the signal is that can come from the brain and enabled the miniaturization of those products. As a lot of the major tech companies start to invest in these brain sensors, it's a huge, I think, untapped market in many ways of integrating them into everyday devices. These are earbuds or watches or headphones and the soft cups around the ears. Many of those products are hitting the market this year, and others are hitting them within the next 2 years, such that people can listen to music, a phone call, etc., while having those devices in ears. Initially, what they will be capable of doing is very high-level brain state reading. Things like, are you tired? Are you paying attention? Is your mind wandering? Are you happy or sad? They maybe enable interaction like up, down, left, right for interaction with other technologies. And they're being embedded into things like virtual reality headset.
That's pretty good. Okay, so I had seen this, and they have electrodes that are hooked to the outside of your head where it can tell what words you're thinking of. So this is just going to a consumer market at this point. That was a research institute that had invented that when I watched that documentary, but now it's ready for market. And the scary thing about this, they're going to make people feel like that they're in control of the technology, not that the technology is in control of them. What do I kind of mean by that? Meaning, oh, you have control over left, right, whether you're tired, things like that. But if it's a one-way street where you can control the device, I don't see why it wouldn't be a two-way street where they can emit things into your head rather than just taking things from your head. So I'd be very wary of any devices like this. I've really cut down my use of earbuds and things like this. I'll very rarely use them now. Like I once in a while I use it to check if I'm getting audio on our live show at nighttime, just to make sure nothing's messed up, but I'll just use it for a couple seconds. So do you have anything about this?
Well, I mean, it's obvious that they want to keep using technology in ways where they'll make it seem like it's for the best, and it's, oh, so we can help monitor your heart rate or help monitor how you're feeling and make technology around you more intelligent so it can help you. But in reality, it's giving them so many more data points, be it for advertising, be it for more nefarious purposes, be it for control purposes to understand their population better, or just, again, even if it is just for marketing and to
I remember
make you buy more stuff. It's an invasion of privacy in a way which you're consenting to but not fully aware of, and it already happens.
Yeah, I remember when governments were expected to respect the privacy of its population and things like that. It's just a free-for-all at this point. Never mind the privacy and things like that. So it's like, remember the other day we did a story about the UK fining China billions of dollars because they were taking data from TikTok users and things like that. Mm-hmm. But the UK has no problem taking all that private data itself.
Yeah, they just want to be in control of it.
They just want to be in control of it. Yeah. Okay, let's go into the next story, and this is a CBDC story. This gentleman that's going to be talking about it in the glasses, he lives in Hawaii. He used to be a big-time investor and things like this.
He's a former BlackRock portfolio manager.
He's very knowledgeable. I've been watching him for quite a few years now, and he's very open and honest about what big corporations, big business, and investment portfolios are actually doing, and he's usually pretty spot on.
His name is Ed Dowd.
Okay, let's bring the clip in.
Believe that the collapse is orchestrated in order to bring in central bank digital currencies? And do you think, you mentioned a timeline to me before that was anywhere from 2 months to 3 years. What are the realistic steps that you think they'll take to get us there?
I put it a little down.
So the system is going to collapse of its own weight. And if you know that where you're in control of the new system. So that's what I believe is going on. They can't, I don't think, a lot of people say, oh, are they doing this on purpose? Well, it was going to happen anyways. So, and if it's going to happen, wouldn't you like to control it on the way down and get rid of the regional banks and make the banking system very consolidated into 6 big banks in the US? So that then it would be a lot easier to introduce a central bank digital currency. And so banking becomes like a utility pretty much owned by the government and linked to the central bank digital currency. And then from there, once the central bank digital currency is linked to all your credit cards and bank accounts, then social controls can be implemented. You can't have, if you're a dissenter like me talking about truth, they shut you down. It's just shut off your account. If they decided that cow farts are...
And I kind of brought this clip in to have the talking point about the stable coins and things like this. Trump is really going away from CBDCs and central bank digital currencies, but other countries are running headfirst into them. So Trump's going the route of privatizing through stablecoin rather than having this Fed public sector digital currency, which is an interesting route because he's also, at least it appears, he's trying to save the U.S. dollar and things of this nature. And he's talking about really during the Biden administration how banks were getting shut down and consolidated. Trump's really trying to reinvest in small local banks so they can get the money out to the middle class and things like this. So it's going to be very interesting. It's expected that he's going to use the stable coins through these smaller banks to get these wealth and money out to people that are going to take loans within local communities through smaller banks. But that is just talk right now.
But it also offers some level of control. It's just privatized rather than through the government.
Not if there is both regular currency and stablecoin. That would be necessarily a free choice of adoption, which I would be for. But if it goes completely into stablecoin, yes, those same controls could be put on, and it would be put on by private industry rather than the government, which would be far less regulation and far more control for the end user or owner of the stablecoin, whoever's controlling it. That being said, if there was two, I don't mind having at least options. Okay, let's go into Canada's immigration chart.
So this is actually from JJ McCullough, which is interesting. If you don't know who JJ McCullough is, he is a YouTuber who actually fought quite hard against a lot of the bills that wanted to regulate digital platforms, digital media in Canada, but he is pretty much towards the left. But he says this is a pretty wild chart on Canada's immigration intake. It's coming from the Toronto Star, and we see the influx point when Trudeau became a prime minister.
Yeah, but what do you know? I didn't take it for what he was saying about the chart. I actually analyzed the chart on my own. And what's the one thing you're noticing here?
Well, I mean, it went down during the bad times.
And most people are paying attention to that red line, I would think.
This one?
That's the first thing that I saw, which is immigration's coming into the country. But when I analyzed the chart, it's actually the blue line that's the most important. So
the natural growth rate is blue.
So this is the natural population of Canada. If there was no immigrants, they're fleeing the country just like we have. We moved to Mexico City. Canadians are leaving in droves and in mass. The more immigrants they let in, the more natural population is leaving. One is forcing the other out, is the thing.
And the red ones are net temporary residents, but a lot of those eventually convert to citizens and to part of the population.
What you're seeing now is you're almost at zero, and this is from 2021, and people have been fleeing even more since 2021. We left after 2021, and the thing is, Canada's in quite the situation now. People are leaving that country in droves. If you're a natural citizen, the only way to keep the population up now is literally immigration. So now they're in a situation where they're going to have to force immigration, or the country will collapse on its own population.
And also the natural population birth rate has gone down, even with all the immigrants going in.
Yeah, and you were talking about the publisher of this article, which was JJ, what's his name? McCullough, and you were saying he was talking about the censorship bills. I didn't put that in as an article today, but Carney, it looks like he's going forward with alterations with the two major censorship bills within Canada, which would completely almost shut down independent media voices within Canada, which have gotten a lot of power over the last election and during this Alberta separatist movement. People from around the world are really tuning into Canadian media right now, and I don't think the government likes it. The best way to get rid of it would be these two major censorship bills. One is C-63. The former climate minister, I think his name's Guilbeault, yeah. He is now in charge of censorship. So he was a climate felon, which was doing all kinds of climate terrorism and things like this before he became the climate minister, which was insane. Okay, let's go into, this was the story I was talking about a moment ago with age of consent and things of this nature. So why don't you read the headline and then we'll listen to what she has to say.
So the Toronto City Council lowers poll voting to the age of 16, hoping provincial and federal government does the same in the future. Should 16 to 17-year-olds be allowed to vote in elections?
Okay, let's listen to what she's saying.
We also know that young people are more likely to vote the first time if they do it in a structured environment with their friends, which is more likely to happen at 16 and 17 when they're in high school than at 18 when they've been cast to the winds and they're on their own either at work or at university or college. So if we want lifelong engagement, this is an easy thing we can do, is to take a step towards including 16 and 17-year-olds in our public process and give a precedent that will hopefully encourage the federal and provincial governments to change our election laws to include them. The second question I had was, okay, well, it's good that they're more likely to vote, but will they pay attention? Will they be knowledgeable? Will they be informed voters? And again, the research that was provided by Vote 16 and the Young Politicians of Canada is that, yes, people at 16 and 17 are just as likely to pay attention, just as likely to become informed, just as likely.
And I'm going to say this is really social engineering with these huge censorship bills that are about to be enacted in Canada, or at least that's what it looks like is going to happen. You really, the young people right now are really starting to go towards a more traditional conservative movement. That is because of independent media. They want to completely shut that out and be able to kind of preach and brainwash these young kids at a young age and then get them into voting and then keep them very fearful and engage on their emotions so they have lifelong voters, basically, is what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Independent media is extremely important, and this could backfire on them if they can't get these independent media bills passed, because they're going to find a lot of these young voters might not vote the way that they want. But in Canada specifically, they have so much media control. I think this might work out for them. Mm-hmm. And I'm not for going to let 16 and 17-year-old votes. 18 is the age of adults. That's when you should be able to vote. And as soon as they get 16 and 17, they're going to lower it down, and they're going to keep lowering it.
To be engaged as people who are 18 or 19. And again, perhaps more likely because they're in a structured environment where the schools can give them that support. So this is not enfranchising young people permanently. That would be a great step, but that's not in our power. But this is a step that is within our power. It's a gesture in the right direction. It's a precedent-setting step that young people have asked us to do, and that is easy for us to do, and that the clerk has figured out how to do. And by the way, while they're doing it, they're also fixing some other problems with our current polling process to make their work easier. So I'd ask
So there is an opposite movement happening in the United States for this, and it's the idea that maybe it should be one vote per family rather than every single person gets a vote. These are people that are really invested in the future of the country and not just their own they're not their own self-interest or tribalistic type of voting. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I just want to kind of show that there is an opposite movement happening right next door in the United States. This is particularly happening in Canada, where the Canadian government really thinks they have control of the youth, so they want that block. Okay, and I have two more stories. I guess we'll try to do them and see what happens.
I didn't get them because...
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
I can get them now.
Maybe we'll save them for tonight. I'll just go over the headlines. There's a new jibby jab in Canada that's a 6-in-1 jibby jab. I talked about this. I have a clip that I wanted to play. I'll probably do it on tonight's show at 9:15 Central Time. It's called Nat and the Guy. It's right back. It's right back here.
Yes.
And then the next one would be. I can't even say that on YouTube, so maybe it was best that we didn't.
Yes, that's why I didn't grab them.
We'll have those two articles on the second half of our show tonight. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. We're a new channel. Our primary channel is the Spanish language channel called Nat and the Guy Espanol. If you are a Spanish speaker, please check that out. We'll see you tonight.